In the year 1849, a group of American soldiers stood on a dusty army post in Texas. They were staring at something that made no sense to them. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a machine. It was an animal, a strange, humped, long-necked creature. It had just been shipped across the Atlantic Ocean at enormous cost, on direct orders from the United States Congress. The plan sounded insane. The United States government believed that camels, not horses, could win the American desert, and for a brief, bizarre moment in history, they were right. Then, the entire experiment collapsed. The animals were abandoned in the wilderness. Camels vanished from American memory almost completely. So why would a global superpower spend a fortune importing camels in the first place? What did they know that we've forgotten? To understand that decision, we have to go back thousands of years earlier to a story far bigger than one army experiment. A story about an animal that quietly built the modern world. Before we go there, if stories like this pull you in, hit like and subscribe. This channel exists to dig up the hidden history behind the things we take for granted. Trust me, camels are about to surprise you. Picture a desert at noon. The sun doesn't just shine, it attacks. Sand can become hot enough to cause severe burns within seconds. There's no shade for miles, no rivers, nothing but heat and silence. Most animals would die out there within a day. Humans certainly would. Yet for thousands of years, one creature walked straight into that furnace and thrived. Nobody in the ancient world fully understood why. They just knew that when everything else failed in the desert, the camel didn't. The truth is stranger than early humans imagined. A camel's body is basically a walking survival machine. That hump everyone associates with water storage isn't holding water at all. It's pure fat, an energy reserve that lets the animal go without food for weeks. Camels can lose up to a quarter of their body weight in water and keep functioning normally. That would kill almost any other mammal on Earth. Their red blood cells are oval-shaped instead of round. That keeps their blood flowing even when it gets thick from dehydration. Their nostrils can seal shut against sandstorms. Camels have 2 rows of long eyelashes, along with other protective eye structures that help shield their eyes from blowing sand, acting almost like built-in goggles. This wasn't an animal that simply adapted to the desert. This was an animal that seemed almost engineered for it, and that raises the first real mystery. Where did such a perfectly desert-built creature actually come from? Here's a twist almost nobody expects. Camels didn't originate in the deserts of Arabia. They didn't come from the sands of the Sahara either. Fossil evidence tells a completely different story. The earliest camel ancestors evolved in North America, roughly 45 million years ago. Small, deer-sized creatures wandered ancient forests and grasslands in what is now the western United States. Over millions of years, they grew larger. They developed longer necks. They adapted to drier grasslands as the climate shifted. Then, around 3 million years ago, something happened that would change the fate of entire continents. A land bridge connected North America to Asia. Later, another connected North America to South America. Ancient camels used those bridges to migrate outward in 2 directions. Some went south, becoming the ancestors of llamas and alpacas in South America. Others crossed into Asia, spreading west into the Middle East and North Africa. There, they evolved into the camels we recognize today. Shortly after, for reasons still debated among scientists, camels disappeared entirely from North America. The continent that created them lost them completely. It's almost poetic. The birthplace forgot its own creation, while the creature itself went on to reshape human civilization on the other side of the planet. Now here's where the human story truly begins. Sometime around the 3rd millennium BCE, roughly 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, in the harsh landscapes of Arabia, Ancient herders looked at these strange animals and saw something no one else had noticed. Not food, not decoration, opportunity. A creature that needed almost nothing to survive could carry heavy loads for days without water. Tame that animal, and you wouldn't just have livestock. You would have a key capable of unlocking trade routes once considered impossible. Domestication didn't happen overnight. It took generations of trial, failure, and patience. Early tribes had to learn how to approach an animal powerful enough to kill a man with a single kick. They studied its moods. They studied its warning signs. Slowly, painstakingly, wild desert beasts became working partners. And once that partnership formed, everything changed. For the first time in history, humans could cross deserts that had always been dead ends. Regions once marking the edge of the known world suddenly became passageways. Entire economies started shifting because of one simple fact: camels could go where horses, donkeys, and oxen could not. Somewhere in that early era, imagine a boy no older than 12, standing beside his first camel in the pale light before dawn. His father has just handed him the lead rope. This is his first solo trip across a stretch of open desert, delivering wool to a village 2 days away. His hands are shaking, not from cold, but from fear. If the camel senses hesitation, it won't move. If he pushes too hard, it might refuse entirely. So he does what his father taught him. He breathes slowly. He speaks low and steady. And step by step, the animal follows him into the open sand. It's a small moment. Nobody wrote it down. But moments exactly like this, repeated by thousands of nameless children across 1,000 years, are the real foundation this entire story is built on. But this was only the beginning. As trade networks slowly expanded, a new kind of route began forming across Asia. It would eventually connect empires separated by thousands of miles. Historians would later call it the Silk Road. Most people picture a single road. It wasn't. It was a sprawling web of paths crossing mountains, deserts, and grasslands, stretching from China all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. Running through the deadliest sections of that network, the endless dry stretches where nothing else could survive, were camel caravans. Picture a caravan setting out at dawn. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of camels, loaded with silk, spices, gold, and stories from distant lands. Bells hang from their necks, marking a slow, steady rhythm across the sand. Merchants walk beside them for weeks, sometimes months. They face sandstorms that can bury a man alive. They face bandits waiting in hidden valleys. Temperatures swing from blistering heat by day to freezing cold by night. One wrong decision could end everything. In the Taklamakan Desert, one of the driest and most unforgiving places on Earth, a single missed water source could doom an entire caravan. Imagine a merchant waiting outside the gates of an oasis town day after day for a caravan that should have arrived weeks ago. His younger brother had left with that caravan, promising to return before the first snow. No single record preserves a story exactly like this, but scenes like it must have played out again and again across the centuries. For every caravan that reached its destination loaded with treasure, there were almost certainly families back home who spent months not knowing if their loved ones were alive, delayed, or already lost to a sandstorm somewhere near the desert's edge. What happened next surprised everyone, including the empires those goods were flowing into. Because of these caravans, Chinese silk reached Roman senators who had never seen anything like it. Perfumes and incense from Arabia filled temples in India. Ideas moved as freely as goods. Religion spread along these same routes. Buddhism traveled from India into China, partly along paths only camels could reliably cross. Mathematics, medicine, and philosophy crossed borders on the backs of these desert animals, long before ships or planes existed to do the job. Here's something worth pausing on. Without camels, would globalization as we understand it have even been possible at this early stage in history? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Historians still debate exactly how different the ancient world would look without this one species. This wasn't just an animal. It was infrastructure. It was the internet of the ancient world, and it walked on four legs. But where there is opportunity, there is also conflict. As trade routes grew more valuable, so did the animals that powered them. Camels became targets. Bandits didn't just want the silk or the spices being carried, they wanted the camels themselves. Whoever controlled the camels controlled movement across the desert. Wars broke out over watering holes and caravan routes. Entire kingdoms rose and fell based on their ability to hold these desert corridors. Then, in the 7th century, history was about to change again, and camels stood right at the center of it. The early Islamic conquests swept across the Arabian Peninsula and beyond. Armies that could move rapidly across terrain, considered impassable, gained a decisive advantage. Camel-mounted forces allowed for rapid strikes, long-range campaigns, and supply lines stretching deep into hostile territory. Within just a few decades, vast regions of the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Asia were transformed. Camels were there, quietly making the impossible logistics of these campaigns actually work. The story didn't end there. While camels were reshaping empires in the East, an entirely different chapter was unfolding across the Sahara Desert. Before camels arrived in North Africa, the Sahara was considered nearly impassable. It wasn't just a desert, it was a wall, roughly the size of the continental United States, separating North Africa from the rich kingdoms of West Africa. For centuries, that wall stayed almost completely sealed. Then, sometime around the first few centuries after Christ, camels were introduced into North Africa, and the wall began to crack open. Traders realized that with camels, crossing the Sahara wasn't just possible, it was profitable. Massive caravans began forming. Some historians estimate certain caravans included over 10,000 camels loaded with salt, gold, textiles, and, tragically, enslaved people, making the Trans-Saharan slave trade possible as well. It's a devastating chapter within this same story of connection. Cities that had barely existed suddenly became legendary centers of wealth and learning. Timbuktu, once a small trading post, transformed into one of the richest cities on Earth. It became a center of scholarship, where manuscripts on science, law, and astronomy were collected and studied by candlelight in mud brick libraries. This transformation happened largely because camels made the impossible journey across the Sahara survivable. Gold from West Africa reached Europe. Islamic scholarship reached deep into Africa. A cultural and economic exchange spanning thousands of miles of lethal desert became possible because of one animal's extraordinary biology. But success always comes with a cost, and this success came with a brutal one. The very same trade routes that spread knowledge and wealth also became highways for human suffering. Millions of people were forced across those same Saharan sands under horrific conditions. It's a painful reminder that transformative technology, and camels functioned as a kind of ancient technology, can build up civilizations just as easily as it can be used to exploit human lives. History rarely offers a clean, simple story, and this one is no exception. As centuries passed, camels became woven into nearly every part of desert life. They weren't just transportation. Their milk sustained entire nomadic populations through years of drought. Their wool was woven into tents and clothing that could block both blistering heat and freezing desert nights. Their dried dung became a critical fuel source in places where wood simply didn't exist. Imagine a Bedouin family living through a drought that stretches on for nearly 2 years. Wells dry up one by one. Livestock die across the region. For many families in situations like this, a single female camel Tough enough to keep producing milk even as the land around her turns to dust could mean the difference between survival and starvation. In stories like these, repeated in different forms across generations and regions, that camel often wasn't just spared from slaughter for meat, the way weaker animals sometimes were. She might even be given a name. That pattern helps explain something deeper than economics. It helps explain why, for so many nomadic peoples, the bond with a camel could feel less like ownership and more like partnership, forged in shared survival. Now here's where global history takes a sharp, unexpected turn. By the 16th century, European powers were expanding their reach across the entire planet. In regions with harsh, arid climates, from parts of South America to the deserts of Australia and even the American Southwest, camels began to look like a solution to a serious logistical problem. And that brings us right back to where this story began. In the 1850s, the United States government faced a genuine crisis. Vast desert territories in the newly acquired American Southwest were nearly impossible to supply using horses and mules, which needed far too much water for extended desert expeditions. Jefferson Davis, who would later become infamous as President of the Confederacy, at the time served as United States Secretary of War. He championed a bold and unusual proposal: import camels directly from the Middle East, create a specialized Army Camel Corps. Congress actually approved the funding. Ships were sent overseas. Camels, along with a small number of experienced handlers, were purchased and transported across the Atlantic to Texas. For a brief period, it actually worked. These camels crossed brutal desert terrain that would have destroyed horse-based expeditions. They carried heavier loads. They needed far less water. They endured conditions that seemed designed to break them, yet somehow didn't. Then the American Civil War erupted, and the entire experiment was abandoned almost overnight. Military resources shifted entirely toward the conflict tearing the nation apart. The handlers who understood how to work with these animals left. Some camels were sold off. Others were simply released into the wilderness. For decades afterward, isolated sightings of wild camels wandering the deserts of Texas, Arizona, and Nevada were reported by startled settlers who had no idea why such an exotic animal was roaming their land. It sounds almost like folklore. It's a genuinely documented piece of American history that most people have never heard. But here's the wow moment nobody sees coming. That strange, half-forgotten chapter isn't really the end of the camel's American story. It's a preview of something happening globally right now, on a scale that would stun those 19th century soldiers. Today, there are more than 35 million camels alive on Earth. The vast majority live in a country many people wouldn't expect. Not Saudi Arabia, not Egypt. Somalia holds one of the largest populations on the planet. But Australia possesses the largest wild camel population anywhere on Earth. Descendants of camels imported during the 19th century for exploration and construction across its brutal interior deserts. When motor vehicles eventually replaced them, many were released. They thrived so successfully that Australia now exports camels back to the Middle East, completing a strange full-circle journey that started with soldiers spread through the desert outback and ended up right back where camels first became partners with humans thousands of years earlier. Meanwhile, in the deserts of the Middle East, camels have entered a completely new era. Camel racing has transformed into a massive commercial industry worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It comes with specialized veterinary science, professional training programs, and, in a strange fusion of ancient tradition with modern technology, robotic jockeys. In some competitions, lightweight robots have replaced small human riders, controlled remotely by trainers driving alongside the racetrack. An animal domesticated more than 4,000 years ago is now racing alongside 21st century robotics. Camel milk has also experienced a remarkable modern resurgence. Once considered a niche regional product, it's now marketed globally as a nutrient-dense alternative to cow's milk, praised for containing less fat and more vitamin C. Some early studies suggest it may contain unique proteins worth exploring for future medical research, and scientists continue investigating possible links to certain autoimmune conditions. Though the research is still ongoing and far from settled, multi-billion-dollar industries are now forming around an animal that ancient nomads relied on purely for basic survival. As climate change pushes more regions of the planet toward increasing heat and unpredictable drought, some agricultural researchers are exploring camels as part of the answer. Early evidence indicates that camel-based dairy farming may require significantly less water than cattle farming in certain vulnerable regions, though scientists are still studying how far that potential could scale. An animal shaped by millions of years of evolution to conquer extreme heat and scarcity might quietly become part of how humanity adapts to the harsher climate future we're now creating for ourselves. Think about that for a second. A creature that connected ancient continents through the Silk Road and the Sahara might end up helping us survive the environmental consequences of the very globalization it originally helped create. So let's return to where we began, that strange, abandoned experiment in the Texas desert. It's easy to see it as a forgotten military footnote buried by the chaos of the Civil War. It's actually something much bigger. It's a small echo of an idea humans have returned to for over 4,000 years. When the world seems impossible to cross, this one remarkable animal has repeatedly offered us a way through. Camels carried silk from China to Rome. They carried gold, and tragically, they also carried human suffering across the width of the Sahara. They carried ideas, religions, and languages across landscapes that would have otherwise stayed sealed off from human contact. They connected continents long before ships crossed oceans, and they're still adapting today. From robotic racetracks in Dubai to superfood markets to serious conversations about our warming planet. If an animal built almost entirely for survival ended up quietly shaping trade, empires, and even the future of farming, what other pieces of history are hiding in plain sight around us, waiting to be noticed? Tell me what you think in the comments, and if this changed how you'll see camels forever, hit like, subscribe, and stay with Origin Tales. We're just getting started.